Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my week number 5 must-start and must-sit wide receivers for fantasy football in 2021. Inside today's video, I'm going to begin by discussing my must-start wide receivers of the week, and then we're going to pivot into the must-sit wide receivers based upon their matchups on the week. But before we get on into things, I would like to ask, if you are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure that you do hit that subscribe button down below, and whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure you hit that like button down below. It would help us out a ton. I would also like to ask, if you guys are on Twitter and would like to follow me, to please do so at NotoriousFNTSY. So without further ado, let's get into the video. We begin with the must-start category at the wide receiver position on the week. That is headlined by Deebo Samuel, wide receiver of the San Francisco 49ers, this week facing up against the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. Even with the change at the quarterback position, going from Jimmy Garoppolo to Trey Lance due to the injury that Jimmy Garoppolo sustained last week, I feel as though that has virtually zero effect on Deebo Samuel's stranglehold at the wide receiver position on the 49ers. He is the clear #1 wide receiver target on the team. Last week, Deebo Samuel went 8 of 13 for 156 yards and not one, but 2 touchdowns up against the Seattle Seahawks defense. Now, I understand that it's a big step up going from the Seattle Seahawks defense to going up against the Arizona Cardinals, but at the end of the day, in my opinion, the Arizona Cardinals defense looked so good last week up against a strong LA Rams offense because of Sean McVay. Sean McVay was not willing to make the risky plays. He was not willing to go for it on 4th down. Instead, he elected to keep it safe. He just continued to kick field goal after field goal, and eventually you get to the point where, hey, Sean, you need to start going for it because you guys are losing this game. He needed to go for it more, and I feel as though Kyle Shanahan, if they do get down in this game up against Cliff Kingsbury and the Arizona Cardinals, that they will actually continue to push the pace instead of just kicking a bunch of field goals, which last week obviously didn't work at all for the 49ers because Robby Gould was hurt. If Lance looks how he did last week up against the Seattle Seahawks, which in my opinion wasn't amazing, he didn't look amazing, but if he just looks like a average NFL quarterback, then Deebo Samuel could easily be a top 5 wide receiver on the week. Right now, Deebo Samuel is the wide receiver #3 in half PPR on the season, so I believe he's going to be able to do it whether it's Jimmy Garoppolo, whether it's Trey Lance. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. I believe that Deebo Samuel will have huge success this week with Trey Lance, and I assume that maybe Trey Lance will be the quarterback of the future as long as he doesn't make some crazy mistakes in the next couple of games while Jimmy Garoppolo is out. Next up in the must-start category, we have Jakobi Meyers, wide receiver of the New England Patriots, going up against the Houston Texans defense this week in Houston. Going up against the Houston Texans is basically the wet dream scenario for any offense. It could be the worst offense in the NFL, and going up against the Houston Texans, they are going to look like the Kansas City Chiefs offense or something like that because of how bad the Texans defense is, and the Texans offense isn't much better. So this game could easily be a mollywhopping by the Patriots offense. Meyers appears to be the clear #1 target, in my opinion, on the New England Patriots offense. Last week, going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he had 8 receptions on 12 targets for 70 yards. And I know you might be thinking, hey, Nick, where are the touchdowns for Jakobi Meyers? They're actually, at this point, non-existent because Jakobi Meyers has yet to mosey his way on into the end zone this season. But based upon target volume alone, going up against a bad defense like the Houston Texans, it would be no surprise if Jakobi Meyers' 12 targets, if he gets those this week, turns into 12 receptions as long as Mac Jones is able to hit him. And even if he doesn't find his way into the end zone, the sheer amount of volume for PPR and half PPR leagues will be enough to make him a must-start candidate on the week. I mean, last week, the Buffalo Bills dropped 40 points on the Houston Texans. 40 points. Guess how many points the Texans scored? 0. This could be a complete and utter mollywhopping, but even if that is the case, I believe Jakobi Meyers is a key piece of this offense that Mac Jones is going to be feeding all game long. So I expect a big game out of Jakobi Meyers this week up against the Houston Texans. Next up, we have a must start that may be a little bit controversial. That is Robert Woods tonight of the LA Rams going up against the Seattle Seahawks. This week, Sean McVay has been talking up Robert Woods. He's been buttering us all up for what could be a huge Robert Woods week. He took all of the accountability on this situation because a lot of people are complaining, hey, coach, hey, Mr. McVay, why is Robert Woods not getting the ball? And he's saying that, hey, It's my fault that Robert Woods has not been seeing enough opportunities on the team. Last week up against the Arizona Cardinals, he actually woke up a little bit. He had 4 receptions on 6 targets for 48 yards and a touchdown. Now, had he have not scored the touchdown, that would have been quite the disappointing game. But I don't think everyone was really on board with Robert Woods last week, whereas I think this week we need to get on board because Robert Woods is truly an amazing talent. In my opinion, he is a top-end wide receiver in the NFL. Now, not necessarily he's going to be like a top 5 guy with Devontae Adams, with Tyreek Hill up there as one of the most elite talents, but he is still a very solid wide receiver, a top 24 wide receiver, at least talent-wise in the NFL. So I believe that if Sean McVay isn't just lying straight to our faces, that Robert Woods can have an excellent and explosive game tonight up against the Seattle Seahawks defense. The hope here is that we see a much higher target share going the way of Robert Woods, whether that ends up surpassing Cooper Kupp's target share, or maybe he's just rivaling Cooper Kupp's target share. He's close to him, and if that is the case, that is enough. That is enough for Robert Woods to have an absolute smash matchup up against the Seattle Seahawks. Right now, Vegas has this game at a 54.5 point total, so they expect this to be a high-flying, pass-heavy attack between the Seattle Seahawks and the LA Rams, and that is exactly how I believe this game will go. I think we'll finally be very excited to have Robert Woods in our lineup. But before we get on into the must-sit wide receivers of the week, I would like to let you guys know that we have partnered with Yahoo Fantasy this NFL season to bring you guys an offer that is basically just too good to be true. Thanks to our partnership with Yahoo, we have an exclusive deal that gets you guys 2 free months of Awesemo Plus Platinum. You heard that correct. 2 free months of Awesemo Plus Platinum. To qualify, you need to be new to Yahoo, sign up for an account via the link in the video description, deposit, and play. That's it. Yahoo will send us your name after you play in your first paid contest, and we'll reach out to you via email with your coupon if you would like immediate access because you want to play today. All you got to do is email support@awesemo.com and we'll get you set up right now. Just to emphasize, this offer is for new Yahoo users only. If you're already a Yahoo user, then you will not be eligible for this promo. In addition, you can claim $10 of free contest entry credit via the Yahoo 10 link in the video description, which can be used to enter Yahoo contests, including tonight's $150,000 Thursday Night Football Baller. With your 2 free months of Awesemo Plus Platinum, you'll have access to our tools and projections specifically designed for Yahoo so you can win big. So take advantage and join Yahoo today. Back on into it, we begin with the must-sit category headlined by JuJu Smith-Schuster of the Pittsburgh Steelers this week going up against the Denver Broncos in Heinz Field. Now, to put this kindly, the Pittsburgh Steelers offense has been a complete and utter unmitigated disaster. This offense is a complete and utter dumpster fire. Big Ben Roethlisberger looks like he doesn't even deserve to wear an NFL jersey. He looks that bad, and the team as a whole offensively looks bad. Now, their defense is perfectly fine, but the offense is so bad. Last week up against the Packers, JuJu had 8 targets, but he only reeled in 2 receptions for 11 yards. And I'm not going to completely stand here or sit here in my chair and blame JuJu Smith-Schuster. Say, hey, it's 100% JuJu Smith-Schuster's fault that he only had 2 receptions on those 8 targets. Because in reality, it's not really his fault. Big Ben just looks bad. It looks like he's over the hump in his career, and that after this, he's going to have to do not even a retirement goodbye. He's going to have to do the Irish goodbye and head out of town because the Pittsburgh Steelers fans, I have a feeling, are going to get real tired of this shit pretty soon because Big Ben just looks bad. Do I believe that he could potentially get better as the season goes along? 100%. But based upon how he's playing right now, there is no way you want to be starting anyone in the Steelers offense that is not named Deontay Johnson or Najee Harris because even if Big Ben is just shit, it won't matter because they see so many targets and they are such key pieces inside this offense. This week, they are facing a strong Broncos defense, and if Chase Claypool plays, which it appears he's going to, this complicates the situation even more because Claypool is going to suck up some of those targets that JuJu could potentially have game in and game out, and that moves JuJu down to the 3rd receiver on the team. And that might not even be the 3rd receiving option due to how much Big Ben dumps off to Najee Harris. So sit down JuJu Smith-Schuster this week, and you're probably going to want to sit him down for a while until this offense gets any better because it looks bad right now. Next up, we move to Odell Beckham Jr., wide receiver of the Cleveland Browns, going up against the Los Angeles Chargers in that beautiful stadium in Los Angeles. It has been reported that Baker Mayfield has suffered a partially torn labrum in his left shoulder, when he went out up against the Texans in week number 2. Now, I'm not going to proclaim to be some type of a doctor, but even though it's on his non-throwing shoulder, he's a righty, he hurt the left labrum, it doesn't seem to matter because to me, he has looked much worse ever since that injury. He's looked pretty sluggish is kind of how I would like to describe it. It appears that surgery is not going to be occurring as of right now for Baker Mayfield. But if Baker Mayfield continues to play like this and it's not healing correctly, then he could be a humongous detriment to this offense because the Browns offense doesn't need Patrick Mahomes. They don't need an elite quarterback to win them the games. They just need a guy not to completely fuck everything up by throwing an interception. They just want to run the ball down your throat, and they just want to get out of there with the win and making sure the quarterback doesn't mess it up. But right now, to me, Baker's messing things up. Last week, everyone, including myself, was all over a humongous Odell Beckham Jr. week up against the Minnesota Vikings. On paper, that seemed like it was going to be a tit-for-tat back-and-forth affair between Kirk Cousins and Baker Mayfield and that Browns offense, but instead, it was an absolute snooze fest. And what we expected was the exact opposite of what happened. Odell had 7 targets, 2 receptions, and 27 yards. But the blame for Odell's bad game isn't 100% on Odell. I wouldn't blame Odell at all. The blame needs to be pushed onto the quarterback, Baker Mayfield. Odell Beckham Jr. was wide open. He was butt naked wide open down the field for what would have been likely a 55, 65-yard strike going his way that would have led to a touchdown, but Baker Mayfield whiffed completely. Until we see Baker Mayfield trend towards being more healthy, until we see Baker Mayfield show some actual fucking consistency on the field, there is no way you want to throw Baker Mayfield into your lineup, or, obviously, Odell Beckham Jr., who is a focal point of today's video because, obviously, he's a wide receiver. Final wide receiver to discuss is Robby Anderson, wide receiver of the Carolina Panthers, going up against the Philadelphia Eagles this week. Despite having a connection with Sam Darnold, Mono Man Sam, from the good old days in New York with the Jets, it appears that that is just non-existent when he's in Carolina. It just has not transitioned. That Sam Darnold to Robby Anderson connection it's gone. Even with Anderson seeing 11 targets on Saturday up against the Cowboys, he had 11 targets, he had 5 receptions for 46 yards. With DJ Moore playing so well across the board every single game this season, and with no signs of slowing down, it seems to be very hard to kind of carve out a role or mentally think of a strong role that Anderson could have weekly. And now it appears that CMC, Christian McCaffrey, is going to play on Sunday up against the Eagles. And as that gets more and more likely, Anderson's value gets even lower. It starts to dip out. And then eventually we're probably going to end up at a point in this season where you could just cut Robby Anderson because he doesn't have much value as long as DJ Moore keeps eating and as long as Christian McCaffrey is on the field. So thank you guys all so much for watching this video. If you did end up enjoying, make sure you hit that like button as well as that subscribe button. I would appreciate it a ton. Again, you can follow me on Twitter at NotoriousFNTSY. I love you guys all so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And let me know down below who you guys think is winning tonight, the Seattle Seahawks or the LA Rams. I love you guys all so much. Have a great rest of your guys' day. As always, goodbye.